seem to walk in great joy and victory, but somehow it seems as though it's just not happening to me. And the thing that we have to make sure that we do is that we cannot become bitter. We cannot become overwhelmed. We cannot allow discouragement to hit us. As Elder Friday had Minister Chad taking steps and watching and keeping his eye on him, he was saying that's what Jesus is saying, is that we've got to keep our eyes on him. We've got to keep our focus on him, even when it seems like that there are all kinds of things that are going on in the peripheral background, and all kinds of turbulence and news and discouraging things, that we've got to still keep our eyes on him. You see, we got to understand that it's time to walk at a higher level, that I've got to make sure that while I'm in the midst of life, while I'm in the midst and the process of progress and movement and upward mobility, while I'm waiting on my hard work to pay off from going to college, and while I'm waiting on the investment, while I'm waiting on God to bring the things forth in my life, there's something that I've got to do myself. I've got to take this time that I have now. I've got to make sure that I keep my focus. I've got to keep my mind. I've got to keep my thinking. I've got to discipline myself. I've got to deal with me while I'm waiting on God. And sometimes it's in the process of movement and focus that God brings the victory. When I think about this walking in a higher level, I thought about two songs. I like lyrics and songs and so forth, and I thought about first of all, there's an old song that we used to sing as an old hymn of the church, and it's a hymn entitled Higher Ground. Let me share you some of the words. I'm pressing on the upward way, new heights I'm gaining every day, still praying as I'm onward bound. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. And then he says, Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. And then he says, my heart has no desire to stay where doubts arise and fears dismay. Though some may dwell where these abound, my prayer, my aim is higher ground. Is there anybody that wants to walk at a higher level? And then he says, I want to live above the world, though Satan's darts at me are hurled, for faith has caught the joyful sound, the song of saints on higher ground. Now, and then I thought, okay, that's an old song, and then I thought about a new remix. Donald Lawrence has a song entitled Your Righteous Mind. It says, if ye then be risen in Christ, set your affections on things of the kingdom. And then they repeat that. And he says, if ye be risen in Christ, set your affections on things of the kingdom. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, and so forth. He says, it's time for the renewing of your mind, your righteous mind. Don't you think it's time to reconnect with your righteous mind? Your righteous mind, see, your righteous mind is a faith mind. Your righteous mind is a miracle mind. And Jesus came and he did it. Your righteous mind, it's time for you to get with it, your righteous mind. Don't you think it's time? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, don't you think it's time to get with your righteous mind. The old hymnologist said, I want to get to the higher level. I want to get to the higher ground. Donna Lawrence said it's time to make sure that you get with your righteous mind. And they were saying the same thing, that if you're going to understand who you are in God, you cannot concentrate on what has happened or what has not happened. You got to keep your focus at a higher level. And when you keep your focus at a higher level, you will begin to walk at a higher level. Even as you think about 2012 as being a time to bring my life into alignment, I've got to learn how to walk at a new level. Is there anybody that wants to walk at a higher level? He says, and I write, and I notice here in Colossians 3, the writer says, if then you were risen with Christ. How many have been raised up with Christ? I've been raised up with him because I was buried with him. And I've been resurrected with him. Things that used to be, I've been buried and resurrected with him. And so since I've been resurrected with him, he says, seek those things which are above. All right? He says, where Christ is sitting at the right hand of God. And we know that when Jesus Christ was crucified, when he was raised up on the third day morning, and he went after he had dwelled with his disciples and the people for 40 days after the resurrection, that he got on a cloud and he went back to glory, and he is now seated at the right hand of the Father, and he is making intercession for you and me. And so he says, seek those things which are above, where Christ is seated. Now that doesn't mean that you were walking around looking in the sky. It means that you begin to shift, and your desires shift. If you've been raised with Christ, then he says it's time to walk on a new level. You got to walk on a resurrected level. You got to walk on the level of where God has brought you. How many of you know that he has brought you up? Huh? Because you've been resurrected. You've been raised up. And he says that you got to walk on a new level. And then he says in verse 2, set. Somebody say set. Set has to do with fixing. Fix it. Establish it. Secure. He said, set your minds on things above and not on things on the earth. In other words, we got to change the things that are our greatest desire. We got to change the things that captivate our soul. You remember we said we got to sanctify our soul, and our soul has to do with our mind, our intellect, our emotions, and our ability to reason, our ability to think, our ability to remember, to deduce, and so forth. And he says that you've been raised up. You're supposed to desire higher ground. You've been raised up, so now fix your desire, fix your focus, fix your mind on higher things. That's not an uncommon walk. It's a walk, an eagle type walk. How many eagles are there in here today? Huh? Tell your neighbors, neighbor, my chicken strut days are over. Huh? I'm walking at an eagle level. I'm walking at an eagle level. And so he says that